Former President Donald Trump has never been shy about tariffs. Throughout his political career, tariffs have been one of his signature economic tools, a lever he's pulled to try to reshape America's trade relationships and, in his words, put America first. Whether you agree with his approach or not, there's no denying that tariffs have been a central part of his economic playbook. He's used them before, sparking trade wars and rattling global markets. When Trump imposed tariffs during his first term, the effects rippled through the stock market, causing uncertainty for investors and businesses alike. Companies scrambled to adjust, and the world watched as the US and its trading partners exchanged threats and countermeasures. Now, he's back with a new proposal, and it's a doozy. This time, the plan is even bigger and bolder than before, grabbing headlines and sparking heated debates among economists, politicians, and everyday Americans. Trump wants a 10% tariff on every single import coming into the United States. That's right, everything. From electronics and clothing to food and cars, no product would be spared. This would be a sweeping change, affecting nearly every item that crosses America's borders. But wait, there's more. He's singling out China again, slapping a whopping 60% tariff on all goods from the world's second-largest economy. This isn't just a minor tweak to existing policy, it's a dramatic escalation in the ongoing economic rivalry between the US and China, and it would impact everything from smartphones to sneakers. To put this in perspective, the United States imports trillions of dollars worth of goods every year. China alone accounts for a huge chunk of that. So a tariff of this magnitude would touch nearly every corner of the American economy, from the biggest corporations to the smallest family businesses. So, what are tariffs? In simple terms, they're taxes on imports. When a product comes into the country, the government charges a fee, a tariff, on top of its price. This fee is supposed to make imported goods less attractive compared to products made in the US. Think of it like this. Every time a Chinese-made TV or a Mexican-made car arrives at a US port, the government slaps a hefty price tag on it. That extra cost doesn't just vanish, it gets baked into the final price you see at the store or dealership. The idea is to make foreign goods more expensive and encourage Americans to buy American-made products. In theory, this could boost domestic manufacturing, create jobs, and strengthen local industries. Supporters argue that it's a way to level the playing field and protect American workers from unfair competition abroad. Proponents of tariffs say they can revive industries that have been hollowed out by decades of offshoring. They point to the potential for new factories, more jobs, and a resurgence of made-in-America pride. For some, tariffs are about more than economics. They're about national identity and self-reliance. Sounds simple enough, right? But here's the catch. Those extra costs don't just disappear. They get passed on. When importers pay more, they have to make up the difference somewhere, and that usually means charging customers higher prices. Importers raise their prices. Businesses that rely on those imports raise their prices, and guess what? You guessed it. Prices go up for everyone. It's a domino effect that can ripple through the entire economy, touching everything from groceries to gadgets. For families already feeling the pinch from inflation, this could mean even higher bills at the checkout counter. Everyday essentials, food, clothing, electronics, could all see price hikes, making it harder for many Americans to make ends meet. That new TV? More expensive. The latest smartphone or laptop? Also pricier. Even products you might not expect, like furniture or kitchen appliances, could see their costs climb. That new car? You're going to pay more. And it's not just luxury vehicles. Everyday sedans, SUVs, and even used cars could be affected, since so many parts and components are sourced from overseas. Small businesses, too, could feel the squeeze. Many rely on imported goods to keep their shelves stocked and their prices competitive. Higher tariffs could force them to make tough choices, raise prices, cut jobs, or even close their doors. That's the potential fallout of Trump's tariff bombshell. It's a bold move with far-reaching consequences, and as the debate heats up, Americans everywhere are left to wonder, is this the price we're willing to pay for a new era of economic nationalism? Enter Jerome Powell, the calm amidst the storm. As chairman of the Federal Reserve, Powell's job is to keep the U.S. economy on an even keel. And he's not afraid to speak truth to power, even if that power resides in the Oval Office or seeks to return there. Speaking at the prestigious Economic Club of Chicago on April 16, 2025, Powell delivered a stark warning. Trump's tariffs are a recipe for economic disaster. Broad tariffs, Powell cautioned, would raise prices for households and businesses, undermining consumer spending and business investment, and ultimately destabilizing financial markets. Powell's message was clear: tariffs equal inflation. And inflation, as any American who's been grocery shopping or filling their gas tank lately can tell you, eats away at your hard-earned money. It's a stealth tax that hits everyone's wallets. If there's one thing predictable about Donald Trump, it's his unpredictability, especially when faced with criticism. Powell's measured warnings were like a red rag to a bull. Trump, never one to mince words, unleashed a furious tirade on his social media platform of choice, Truth Social. Powell is siding with China, he roared in one all-caps missive. He's clueless about the real economy. These tariffs are going to bring back American jobs and make America great again. But Trump wasn't done. At a rally in Michigan, he escalated his attacks, threatening to fire Powell on day one if he's re-elected in 2024. His termination, Trump declared, his voice dripping with disdain, cannot come soon enough. The message was loud and clear: challenge Trump and face his wrath. The markets, as we'll see, were listening. The stock market, that fickle beast, hates uncertainty. It thrives on predictability, on the steady hum of business as usual. But when the winds of doubt start to blow, even the most seasoned investors can find themselves on edge. Uncertainty is like a storm cloud over Wall Street, casting a shadow that makes every decision feel riskier, every move more fraught with peril. And Trump's tariff tantrum, coupled with Powell's warnings, injected a megadose of uncertainty into the veins of Wall Street. The president's unpredictable tweets and sudden policy shifts left traders scrambling to keep up, while the Federal Reserve's cautious tone only added to the anxiety. It was a perfect storm. Political drama meeting economic caution, with the fate of global markets hanging in the balance. Newsrooms buzzed with speculation, and every headline seemed to bring a new wave of worry. Would tariffs spark a full-blown trade war with China? Would inflation spiral out of control? The uncertainty wasn't just about numbers on a screen, it was about the future of the economy, jobs, and livelihoods. Investors, fearing a trade war with China and a resurgence of inflation, did what they do best in times of panic: they sold. The urge to cut losses and seek safety overwhelmed rational analysis. In moments like these, emotion often trumps logic, and the herd mentality takes over. The sell-off was swift and brutal, as portfolios were liquidated and assets dumped at a rapid pace. On April 17, 2025, the markets went into freefall. The opening bell had barely rung before the red numbers started flashing across trading screens. Panic spread like wildfire, and the sense of dread was palpable. It was a day that would be remembered for its sheer volatility and the speed at which fortunes changed. The S&P 500, a broad measure of the U.S. stock market, plummeted by 2.3%, wiping out billions in wealth. For many, it was a harsh reminder of how quickly gains can evaporate when confidence is shaken. Retirement accounts, college funds, and nest eggs all took a hit, leaving ordinary Americans anxious about their financial futures. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, another key index, fared even worse, shedding over 700 points. The losses rippled through global markets, as investors from Tokyo to London watched their screens in disbelief. The interconnectedness of today's financial world means that fear in one market can quickly spread to others, amplifying the impact. The message from Wall Street was clear. Investors were deeply concerned about the potential fallout from Trump's protectionist policies. The uncertainty wasn't just about tariffs or interest rates, it was about trust in the system itself. When leaders act unpredictably, markets lose faith, and that loss of confidence can be more damaging than any single policy. The question on everyone's minds was whether this was just a blip or a sign of worse things to come. Was this the beginning of a prolonged downturn, or would cooler heads prevail and restore stability? In the end, the price of uncertainty is paid not just in dollars and cents, but in sleepless nights and anxious days for millions of people whose lives are tied to the market's fate. It's not just Wall Street that's worried. While the financial markets are often the first to react to policy changes, the anxiety has spread far beyond the trading floors of New York. Across the country, in university lecture halls, think tanks, and policy roundtables, a chorus of concern is rising among the nation's top economic minds. Leading economists, many of whom have long criticized Trump's trade policies, are sounding the alarm with renewed urgency. Their warnings are not just theoretical, they're grounded in decades of research and real-world experience. These experts, who have studied the effects of tariffs and trade wars across history, are united in their skepticism. They argue that tariffs are a blunt instrument that rarely achieves its intended goals. Instead of protecting American jobs or industries, tariffs often create a ripple effect of unintended consequences. The consensus among economists is that tariffs disrupt supply chains, increase costs for businesses, and ultimately hurt the very people they're supposed to help. Instead of boosting American manufacturing, tariffs often lead to higher prices for everyday goods, job losses in other sectors, and retaliation from trading partners. When the cost of imported materials rises, American companies are forced to pay more, and those costs are usually passed on to consumers. Meanwhile, other countries respond with their own tariffs, making it harder for American products to compete abroad. The Peterson Institute for International Economics, a respected think tank, estimates that Trump's proposed tariffs could add between 0.7% and 1% to annual inflation. That may sound like a small number, but in an economy the size of the United States, even a fraction of a percent can have a massive impact. That might not sound like much, but it adds up quickly. Inflation erodes the purchasing power of every dollar, making it harder for families to afford groceries, gas, and other essentials. Over time, even a modest increase in inflation can strain household budgets and force difficult choices. For the average American family, it could mean hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more in expenses each year. That's money that could have gone towards savings, education, or healthcare. For families already living paycheck to paycheck, these added costs can be devastating, pushing some into debt or forcing them to cut back on necessities. Small businesses, too, are feeling the squeeze. Many rely on imported goods and materials to keep their shelves stocked and their operations running smoothly. When tariffs drive up costs, small business owners face tough decisions: raise prices and risk losing customers, or absorb the costs and see their profits shrink. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, a powerful business lobbying group, has also come out swinging against Trump's tariffs. Their message is blunt and unequivocal. Tariffs are bad for business, bad for workers, and bad for the economy as a whole. Tariffs are taxes on American consumers and businesses, the Chamber said in a statement. Every time a tariff is imposed, it's American companies and families who foot the bill, not foreign governments or overseas manufacturers. They are a drag on economic growth and job creation. When businesses face higher costs, they often have to cut back, sometimes by freezing hiring, laying off workers, or delaying investments in new equipment and technology. Over time, this can slow the entire economy, making it harder for everyone to get ahead. The message from the experts is clear: Trump's tariff plan is a recipe for economic pain. From the halls of academia to the boardrooms of America's biggest companies, the warning signs are flashing red. Economists agree, the costs of tariffs are real, and they're paid by American families, workers, and businesses every single day.